please.
Record?
Welcome, everybody, to the Board of Selectmen's meeting Wednesday, April 24th, 2024, 6 p.m. in the meeting room at the Town Hall on Peck Street. Mass General Law, Chapter 38, subsection 20F, requires any person recording must notify chair at the beginning of the meeting. Seeing no notification, I call the regular meeting to order at 6:01 p.m.
You just like meeting.
Oh, yes. So everybody knows that the Board of Selectmen are video and audio recording our meeting tonight. Pledge of allegiance with a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board and committee openings, somebody please.
Sure, I got it. Volunteers are needed on the Board of Registrars, 1 Board of Selectmen position. Capital Improvement Committee, 3 Board of Selectmen, 2 moderator positions. Commission on Disability, 5 to 13 Board of Selectmen positions. Cultural Council, 1 Board of Selectmen appointment. Economic Development Committee, 5 Board of Selectmen appointments. Energy Committee, 4 Board of Selectmen. Finance Committee, 1 moderator. Historical Commission, 2 Board of Selectmen. Recycling Committee, 1 Board of Selectmen. Zoning Board of Appeals, 1 alternate. Can I just ask at this point, is this a good time to talk about that? Bringing people in or doing something to drum this up, or is that going to be on another agenda?
Let's do it during comments, your comments.
Okay, well, I didn't know if it had to be on an agenda item to discuss, that's all. I don't want to be any violation of open meeting law, yes, that's why I'm
If
asking.
we're gonna get into a deep discussion, then it has to be an agenda.
Okay, so why don't we do that? Why don't we get it as an agenda item so we can talk about ways to drum up, information on these committees, especially the ones that have the openings. See if we can get some interest. I mean, yeah, it's been pretty good. We've been getting the talent bank forms in, but I personally would love to see all of them.
Okay, just a heads up to the people who watch and are here tonight that we're working on the agenda. If you look at it, those of you who are faithful and coming every week, we are shifting some things around, getting some priority matters done first. And if you notice, we have only 1 community speaks, and that's at the beginning. And keep your eyes open at the agendas because things may be tweaked a little bit more in the coming meetings, okay? Priority matters, consider the conditional offer of employment for William Dillingham for the position of police officer.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Kadeen. On April 9th, interviews were held for the position of police officer. The applicants were all Massachusetts post-certified officers and would be considered lateral transfers. The interview panel consisted of myself, Deputy LaFleur, Captain Jardine, Detective Sergeant Peterson, and Mr. Kadeen. Of the 3 candidates interviewed, 2 candidates were considered good fits for our department. Of the 2, William Dillingham was selected by the panel as the best candidate to go forward at this time. Mr. Dillingham is a 10-year veteran of the Bristol County Sheriff's Department. He started his career at the Sheriff's Department as a corrections officer. After some years, he transferred to the Law Enforcement Division and was assigned as a K-9 handler. In 2020, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant, and he supervises the K-9 training program for that department. Mr. Dillingham was also a member of the Army National Guard from 2012 to 2018. During that time, he served as a military police officer. Mr. Dillingham has received a host of training that I feel will greatly benefit this department. I'd like to request through Mr. Kadim that the board extend a conditional offer of employment for the position of police officer to William Dillingham.
Madam Chair, my recommendation is that by the police chief.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen appoint William Dillingham to the position of full-time police officer for the police department, subject to and conditioned upon a successful passage as determined by the town administrator of the following: completion of a satisfactory background check, physical examination with drug screening, psychological screening, MBTC physical fitness test, obtain and maintain a Massachusetts license to carry, fulfillment of all statutory requirements set forth by the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission to become a certified law enforcement officer, successful verification of the National Decertification Index, successful passage of the Civil Service Physical Ability Test, completion and passage of the MBTC or approved ROC Police Academy.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Does anybody have anything? Any questions or anything? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
We need a roll call. No, okay. That passes unanimous, chief.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Also under priority matters, consider the conditional offer of employment for David McGovern for the position of firefighter.
Good evening, Madam Chair, select board members, Mr. Kadim. The initiative was put forth prior to my appointment as chief of department to accept lateral transfers. During that application process, we did receive a few applicants. They didn't necessarily meet all the criteria set forth based on the parameters set forth, meaning that they didn't have a paramedic license. Some of them were cardiac based in Rhode Island. With that in mind, one candidate was identified as the gentleman sitting to my right, David McGovern. Interview panel was established, and on that panel was myself, interim chief Michael Small, Captain Adam DeLessio, the union president Doug Young, and Mr. Kadim. And through that interview panel, we determined that David McGovern is a viable candidate and would like to extend a conditional offer tonight for the position of firefighter paramedic within the town of Seekonk. He does come from us from the Tiverton, Rhode Island Fire Department, where he serves currently as a captain of that organization. He's been a EMT for over 12 years. He's a nationally registered paramedic. He also holds a master's degree in public administration. He scored very highly in the interview process, and that's why he's before us this evening. So through you, in conclusion, I'm requesting through Mr. Kadim that the board extend a conditional offer of employment to Mr. David Sullivan for the position of firefighter paramedic.
Get his name right.
David.
Yes.
You
You
said,
said Sullivan.
you made a.
I said Sullivan?
Yeah.
Sorry, David. I don't know. I was with the David McGovern, the position of firefighter paramedic.
My recommendation is as stated by Chief Webb.
Can I get a motion, please?
Move that the Board of Selectmen appoint David McGovern to the position of firefighter paramedic for the fire department, subject to and conditioned upon the successful passage as determined by the town administrator of the following: a successful pre-employment background check, a satisfactory query check, and a physical examination with drug screening.
Get a second, please?
Second.
Justin Sullivan, second.
Sorry, Chief.
Any comments or any questions from no one? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, David McGovern.
Okay, community speaks. Do we have anybody from the community who would like to say anything? That's in our audience. Okay, seeing no one, thank you. General business, license hearing. Consider the request for a change of manager for Blazing Rings Incorporated doing business as Buffalo Wild Wings, 120 Highland Avenue, Seekonk, Mass. Colin Ahern to be manager.
Colin,
Oh, I'm sorry.
not like Powell.
Yeah, Colin Powell, right?
How are you guys?
Great.
Yeah, so just a change of license is pretty much all. Changing the liquor license from,
So change of manager.
yes, change of manager, yep, from previous general manager to myself now. Been with the company for 10 years. Prior liquor licenses under my name, and no prior issues.
Question? No questions?
Questions? Big books on it.
The hearing, anybody got anything? Anybody here to talk in favor of this besides Mr. Ahern? I'll get it that way. Anyone against? Anyone, anything? No. Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, change of manager for Buffalo Wild Wings,
No, please.
for Blazing Wings, Inc., DBA Buffalo Wild Wings at 120 Highland Avenue, Seekonk, Massachusetts, for Colin Ahern to be manager of record.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Pam, thank you very much. Can I get all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, have a nice night.
You too. I should apologize ahead of time to everybody whose name we're gonna cut a plot today. We're on a roll. Consider the request from Farm Fresh Rhode Island to waive their strict compliance of the requirements from the one-day special event bylaw and to conduct the Asparagus Fest at Fort Town Farm, 90 George Street, Seekonk, Mass. On May 5th, 2024. Do we have anybody here?
Yes.
Come on up.
Hello.
Great, your name for the record, please.
Nicole Ayers. Hi, I'm from Farmers Rhode Island. I'm the director of giving over there. The past 6 years, we've been holding Asparagus Fest at Fort Town Farm. Chris Clegg is a big supporter of ours, and the work that we do is primarily connecting farmers to eaters. So we've been doing that for 20 years. And we are hosting our Asparagus Fest there this year. Last year, I filled out the paperwork and I didn't realize that I had to do this process every year for the one-day special event. I've done all of the other paperwork and all that, but I'm from Rhode Island. I just didn't realize that this was like something that I had to keep doing. I know now, and I have lots of calendar reminders for next year. But I was talking to Christine, who was absolutely lovely, and she gave me all sorts of information on how we could maybe do a special waiver so that we can still have our fundraiser. If we can't have the fundraiser, it's a really big bummer, because the money that we raise actually helps us connect food pantries to local food. So it's not just a fundraiser for Farmers Rhode Island, it's making sure that we can also get like the awesome food that Fort Town grows into food pantries across Massachusetts and Rhode Island. So that's what we're looking for. I am so sorry that I was really just not aware of kind of all of these laws and everything. Like I said, next year it should be good. I promise.
Anybody have anything?
I'm good.
I just have a couple of questions.
Yes.
How did the event go last year? Were there any concerns or questions or complaints from any of the neighbors or anything
No,
like
not
that?
at all. They loved it.
No issues that,
No.
nothing that had.
And where we have it is like in the farm stand. So it's like people are there anyways, and it's not that many people, it's 75 people. So it's not like a big crowd. This year, if anybody wants to pop by, we're also selling tickets at the door too. But yeah, no complaints.
Well, I actually remember being on the board last year when you came.
Yeah.
And you had no tickets
No
available.
tickets left.
I remember that.
Yes. So this year, if you stop by, we will have tickets.
But it would be nice if you got here ahead of time
Yes.
to
I'm sorry. I was on leave for a lot of the year too. Yeah, it's just been all these things.
Okay, so this is gonna, well, let's do B first. Can I get a motion to waive the strict compliance of the requirement from the one-day special event bylaw and to conduct the Asparagus Fest at Fort Town Farm, 90 George Street, Seekonk, on May 5th?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Anybody have anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. It's unanimous. Moving on, consider the request from Farm Fresh Rhode Island for a one-day special license under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, subsection 14, to pour liquor at the Asparagus Fest to be held at Fort Town Farm, 90 George Street, Seekonk, Mass, on May 5th, 2024. So you don't have anything else to
No.
explain? The only thing I would suggest, Mr. Kadim, is one of our members did ask if there was any problems, and my thought would be to show it to the police chief, because he would be the one who would know if anything was reported on that day or not.
Yeah, he gets to sign off.
Yeah, he signed off. I had everybody. sign
It
off.
was sent in the email, you signed.
Okay. But when he signs off on that, because I don't have a form of sticking in my face right now, when he signs off on that, what he's signing off for is that he has no problem with this event being held there.
So that he would either approve or he could not approve or recommend not approve. But he could also put stipulations as to if he feels like there should be detail.
Right. And the fire department too, in case they had possibly had something, not just here, but to any other kind of an event. Okay. Okay, so I take a motion.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimous.
Thank you all so much.
No problem.
Good luck.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have you. Remember one. No, I grabbed it.
Consider the request for a second extension of time for Hannaford's Post Community Agreement.
Good evening.
Your name for the record?
Yep, Eric Bransky, good evening, members of the board, the record Eric Bransky. Applicant petition of Canvas LLC. This is a request for a second extension of the host community agreement. You may recall, we were last year in either August or September. The issue at that point was the state is in the process of promulgating new regulations concerning the host community agreement. It used to be that the towns could take up to 3% of gross. Now the regulations are basically that the towns can only, cities and towns can only take the pro rata fair market value of the impact of services. So that's the link to something. I just read today that they're in the process of promulgating yet another regulation or policy that's going to give guidance and framework to cities and towns as to how to reform HCA's that are non-compliant, such as this one, with the new regulations. If you recall, this was agreed upon before the old regulations. So we are waiting on that guidance to come out. It's been up on the website now for a couple of months. They're saying it's going to get approved any day now. We're monitoring it. The second thing I wanted to advise the board about is that we've learned a lot. The clients have learned a lot through this process. The site that we currently have and the building we currently have is it's not really conducive to a grow facility. It was back in the day, but it just appears to be a little bit too small and a little bit too lacking square footage, I guess you could say, to do a full grow facility. So my client is in the process of negotiating for another site within the zone. Can't disclose who the negotiations are with or anything like that, but odds are in the next 6 months or so, we're gonna have both the new set of regulations will be here to amend the HCA and will probably be before the board on a whole new site. And that'll obviously require
probably planning board approval for site plan review, et cetera. I don't want to get ahead of myself. My client is trying to make it work. I didn't want the board to be surprised that when you see a closing on that property, within the next month or so, that they're walking away from the license. They're not. It's just, they just couldn't get the building to work, monetarily with what they're trying to do. It is a larger facility and a larger tractor. So we're asking for an extension. We're hoping to get until the end of the year. And that'll give us plenty of time to get back before the board on both these issues.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a quick question. The HCA that was approved originally, now that you're potentially going to change the site, is the HCA specific to the site or is it specific to this company?
Both.
It's both.
Both.
So do we need a whole new HCA?
You're gonna, even if we stay where we are.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a whole new
A
HCA.
whole new one, okay.
Because the regulations changed
Yeah.
and the law changed. The state is going to be giving a template HCA as to what this new HCA is supposed to look like. But because we're making a major change here in terms of changing the site, we'll also need subsequent approvals. That's enforcement and planning board. I can't remember if we need zoning board too, I'm not sure. Go back. Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so what you're asking for now, because of regulations have changed, and are probably gonna change again in the possibility of you changing the location of the facility, you want us to give you another extension of the host community agreement to the end of the year.
Correct.
Just one more question. I've been reading what you had sent over previously here, with regards to, the CCC, how far, I guess, do you have to have the site, especially if you're gonna move, do you have to have the site secured and all that in order to get their professional license approval?
You do, a purchase and sales agreement will do at least.
So how far, in your anticipation, in anybody's anticipation here, right? We know CCC moves. Are you any closer?
I think we are, if we were to stay where we are, I think as soon as the HCA is done, we'd be pretty much ready for approval. The problem is financially, it's not gonna work. So that is gonna require some time, but because we have the build out, we have the design, we have the numbers, it's just a matter of expanding that to a site that's workable, to a building that's workable.
Okay, so this, I understand procedurally. So if you go to the new site, you negotiate new HCA,
Correct.
then it's likely the state will then,
Back to the planning board, then go back to the state.
then it goes back to the state and then they'll then get the approval on the tail end of it. So
Correct.
you're probably a good 9 months.
I'd imagine so.
Okay.
I'd imagine so.
Just that we all understand the timeframe of what I'm saying. There's no bearing, in my opinion, just understanding how long it's gonna take for you guys to get into business potentially.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking out loud, right? So let's assume for the sake of discussion that a lease was signed tomorrow for a site that was perfect.
Yeah.
To get the HCA and all the local approvals we need before we can resubmit to the state, we're probably talking 3 months. And then the rest of the time at the state, which I think you're right on, probably 6 months up there. Hopefully sooner, but like everything else with the state.
Do you wanna do it to the end of the year because of a calendar year, or do you wanna extend it out?
Oh, I mean, if the board is willing to give a 1 year, I was trying to keep it on a short leash because obviously you want to see movement. But if you're willing to go out farther than December 31st, you know, we're happy to take it. We're obviously not going to sit on our heels, but there's a lot of moving parts. I'll defer to the board.
I would probably suggest that we just go to the end of the calendar year, because that's also the end of the HCA anyway, and it just kind of gives us a moment to check in to see where you're at any point, and give you an update, whether you're 3 months away or maybe you're 3 weeks away at that time, who knows, right? But we'll have a better idea once we start negotiating with the HCA.
I hope I'm never here asking for an extension again and we're talking about.
Understood.
Well, I'd like to also point out that the end of the year being December 31st is a Tuesday. The Wednesday before that's the 25th, we will not be here. And the week before that's the 18th. So it's gonna be a holiday conflict, so you need to pay attention to the dates of the Board of Selectmen meetings. Because there may not be one on the 18th, there may be one on the 11th, and then not another one for 3 weeks.
When would be the next one after that?
Well, I don't know, because we have been, this is something that was gonna come up later concerning the calendar and holidays. So if we give you an extension to the end of the year, December 31st, just keep in mind that you know, there's maybe an issue with meetings.
I'll make sure
If
the
you,
calendar.
when you come
months
back
will-
to us.
Don't wait till last. I got you.
Right, got it,
I
okay.
got you.
Okay, so somebody gonna make a motion here?
I'll make a motion to extend the HCA for Canvers until December 31st, 2024.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none? Passes unanimous. Thank you. Okay, discussion and analysis of early voting. Blush.
Thank
Just your name for the record.
Kristen Lerner, town clerk.
Thank you. What do you have for us today?
What information do you want to specifically focus on?
So this was my item I had
Go ahead.
tried to bring up last time. It was just give people the money that we paid for the early voting to see if it was worth it, to see how many people came in to vote. If you remember, we started it 2 years ago, so we had no data to go off of. We tried again this year, so we have a little bit more data. So it's just for people at home keeping record, for how many people actually came in to vote, took advantage of it. So that's what I was looking for, just feedback, so people at home knew exactly how many people came in the early vote, if it was worth it, in your opinion. I know you're new in the spot, but
Specifically for town elections.
for town elections,
Okay,
yes,
that's-
yes. Yeah,
Just for the town.
Just for the town elections.
State, we have,
right,
so just the town we can opt
right.
out. So vote by mail and absentee ballots that were mailed, 48. And that cost was $42.42. Am I speaking loud enough?
Yeah.
Early voting in person, so we had it Monday through Friday, presidential elections, including Saturday, but it was just Monday through Friday. Monday, we had 45 people, Tuesday, 49, Wednesday, 84, Thursday, 73, Friday, 50. So the big, larger days, turnout, was obviously Wednesday when we stayed late, Thursday was the largest, and that actually held true for the year prior to that. And Friday was the busiest day, being only 4 hours. So we had 301 people who took advantage of the total early voting. The cost of the ballot printing just for early voting is in the vicinity of 300. I'm saying in the vicinity because we only get lumped what all of the early ballot, all the ballots early or not. So it was approximately that. So the early voting poll workers cost plus the early voting in person and mailing totaled $1,368.24. Now, the year prior to that, the total cost was $1,180.
The number of voters, do you
The
have
number
that?
of voters, yes, on the 2023 early voting person was 222 as opposed to this year 301. The cost of early voting last year was a lot less at 550 as opposed to 1,368. Prices are high, I mean, postage has gone up. Cost of poll workers, so. Clarice actually did estimate that the cost of early voting for this year would be 1,180, so she was darn close.
Right.
I'm sorry, you said the cost last year was how much?
The cost last year was $550. I do have printouts if you want.
Christie Haley, do you have anything?
I think
I think we should keep it. I don't think for the cost it's that astronomical, and I think it's a benefit to the people who cannot make it to town meeting. Gives the people the right to mail it in if they're away on vacation or something like that, but also gives the people the opportunity to come in here Monday through Friday, vote. Because a lot of times people won't go during that day because of the traffic at the high school, could be weather conditions, whatever it might be, but it gives them that opportunity to have more than one day to pick. So for the cost, I think it's well worth it.
I'm in agreement. I mean, you add up the in-person plus the early voting, plus the mail-ins, we're talking just about 350 voters, and I think that's a good number. So the more opportunities we give people to vote, I'm definitely in favor.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Everything David said as well.
I concur.
Krista, do you know I've got nothing else to say because I agree with you, what you said. Do you have anything about the next voting?
For
dates?
the,
Anything,
I
the
don't
very
have
next
that
one.
written down, but for town meeting, I do. Town meeting, the last day to register to vote, if you want to be an active voter for town meeting, deadline is, May 3rd.
Okay.
I'll take it.
All right, good. Everybody good? Thank you very much. You're welcome. Thank you. Consider authorizing the town planner to submit an application to the Massachusetts Housing Partnership for technical assistance to the Southeast Regional Planning and Economic Development District, otherwise known as SERPED, for the required compliance modeling.
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Alden, Town Planner, here this evening, to follow up to my last visit, with regard to the MBTA communities, multifamily zoning. Part of the requirements from the state, Mr. Branch was talking about, mandates from the state, and again, we're on the same topic, is making sure that our proposed district complies with the guidelines. It's a technical analysis that, is kind of beyond the capabilities that we have in the planning office. To that end, Massachusetts Housing Partnership has put together this technical assistance program, which provides for up to $25,000 in funds. There isn't a matching component, other than the time I would spend in participation in the program.
Did you say there is or
There is
isn't?
not.
There is not.
It would just be my in-kind time put into going through the process. Unfortunately, I can't say right now how much that cost will be, other than it's under $25,000. Process-wise, once assuming the board authorizes the application, it'll be submitted tomorrow to Massachusetts Housing Partnership. They've already had some preliminary discussions with Serpent. They'll develop a scope that will be presented to the town. And I'll be back there seeking authorization for that contract between the town and Serpent to provide those services. So this would be authorizing the submission of the application, then obviously the select board have to authorize the contract once we engage Serpent. And just one kind of editorial comment, it can somewhat seem like cart before the horse. Obviously, before we've got a bylaw that's going in front of the meeting in a few weeks. Until we knew where those districts were going to be, and we identified those, we really couldn't start this compliance process. So unfortunately, the way that the system's set up, we're somewhat going into town meeting without having this be able to say that, yes, this is going to comply. As town council has said to the planning board in some of our discussions and getting ready for town meeting, this whole process has been a moving target. I'm expecting that we'll have our baseline multifamily zoning in place after town meeting. I'm hoping that. And then from there, we may have to come back and revisit in November for some tweaks, depending on what that compliance bylaw dictates.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Nora?
No.
Mrs. Bogan?
Question, on the program overview page, it says that not more than a half a mile from a commuter rail station, subway station, ferry terminal, bus station. So is that saying that the multifamily development overlay district has to be within that mile, or is that something else?
That does not apply to us as a nearby MBTA community.
Okay.
That applies to communities that actually have MBTA facilities in town.
Okay.
Attleboro's train station, for instance.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hill?
No, I'm good.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize town planner to submit the application to the Massachusetts Housing Partnership as discussed.
Second, please.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous, and if you wait 2 seconds there, Mr. Levin. There you go.
Thank you, and
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Discussion of the tri-county debt exclusion.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. This is really just to follow up on the ballot question that we had at the prior election. So the vote failed by 60 votes, so it was a close vote. So I just want to have a conversation with the board in terms of the direction, whether or not we want to place it back on the ballot, and try to get a little bit more educational components out there about the impacts to the debt exclusion or debt assessment coming over from Tri-County, or do we want to proceed absorbing the debt assessment within the operational budget?
I'll start.
You notice I go as far as you.
So I think I would support putting it back on the ballot in November. Because I think ultimately, even though the vote was as close as it was, as we got closer and it became known that it was, or termed a non-binding vote and there was some confusion surrounding it, I think it did turn people either off or just did not prioritize or did not get informed. I think it impacts how people were going to, poll anyway to vote on it, whether you're for or against it. So I just think I have my own beliefs that I think it's it's worthy to have it on there anyway. And I think it's, it's the best way to fund and manage this, manage this particular project. But that being said, I think the public needs to have another chance to vote on it.
We have that, legal said that it's okay to put that question on the ballot in November.
Yeah, you're allowed either 2 or 3, Prop 2.5 ballot questions for the November election.
Okay, so we need to make sure that people know that that's there too, so we can put it on a meeting, prior to that. So we probably are not going to discuss this, hopefully, until just before the election, just before the ballot. So let's not forget to put it, so we can bring everybody's mind back to what it means and everything, okay? Mr. Zorn?
So if we don't put it back on the ballot, we absorb in our thing, that's for the whole 30 years, we have to go,
No,
we
you
have to go
can
back.
You
We'll
can
have to
go back to, you can always have the debt exclusion question. You can have as many debt exclusion questions as you want, even if it fails at the ballot. So, but at any point, you could go back. So if you decide not to do it, you could go back 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 15 years.
But did this debt exclusion question, was this just for 1 year?
No,
Or
it
is
was
this for the length,
It was for the life of the project.
the life of the project?
So the only thing with this, I agree with the messed up with the binding, non-binding. Not a fan of, because if we put it back on the ballot, we're gonna get looked at as we're just jamming it down people's throat until we get the vote we want. So, but due to the mess up with the binding, non-binding part, I think it's in our best interest to correct that. That's the only way I'm in favor of it. Other than that, people are gonna think we're just jamming it down their throats till we get a yes vote. But with the legality, even though legal said okay, but just so people are clear, the difference between binding and non-binding.
Yeah, I agree that it was a mess up and confusion with that binding and non-binding. It's people just really don't understand the difference, but people voted. And I'm in favor of sticking with what people voted. It's like you said, if you want to keep going back for the answer you want, then you can just keep going back and hold elections again. So I'm in favor of keeping the vote the way that it is and not putting it back on the ballot.
Mr. Haley?
Okay, when is the first assessment actually due? When are we actually gonna be charged something for the project?
FY25.
So next year?
But yeah, next. But
So next year.
that's only a short-term borrowing, so it's 75,000, just under 75,000.
Okay, so when will we actually be hit with the cost of the project? Is there an estimation of that?
There is, so it's 27 is the big one. So you get it all the way through.
Yeah.
But I think 27 is where you get to about 700,000, 800,000, and then 28 and 29, you get to the 900,000.
Okay, all right. So the reason why I'm asking that is because I think there was some confusion about that part. like, do we approve it right now? We're automatically getting hit with that $1 million tab, but we're not really. It's gonna be phased in
Right.
over a couple of years, and then once the project actually gets fully bonded, then we get whacked.
Yeah,
Correct.
we're about,
So I just wanna make sure I'm understanding it correctly.
so we're about 2 years out until we get the 90,000.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the second half of that, my discussion on that would be, we really we have to figure out a way to educate the townspeople about this project. How we do that, I don't know. So I don't know if we have enough time between now and November to get that done. I truly believe it should be a debt exclusion. To try to have a roughly $1 million tab every single year come out of the operating budget, I think people will not even understand the consequences of that. And to try to explain that year after year after year, what those cuts are going to be to make that money up is, I don't even think we could figure that out. So I fully support a debt exclusion. I just don't know if we need to do it tomorrow. I think we really need to figure out a way to educate the people, put all the things that, even if we make a presentation one night here at a board meeting that people can see, and then get it out. I mean, the Seekonk Reporter is free, right? We can get it out like for months in that paper to try to get as many facts as we can. So when people have questions, we can answer those questions so they're not misled in the information they're gathering, because there's a lot of misleading information that's out there when we're supposed to get assessed and when we're not, and when this project actually is going to hit our payroll, like when we're going to get into that project. So that would just be my suggestion, that we don't rush right away. I mean, obviously we have a spring election again next spring. I would be more in favor of looking at next spring, giving us enough time, because as we know, we say we're all going to work on it, but November's going to be here before you know it. You know, we're really gonna have everything done, that's all.
Yeah.
So, that's just all my 2 cents.
Well, I am in favor of putting it on for November, but I'm also in favor of brainstorming about putting something out there, not only at a presentation at this meeting, but possibly with a presentation that we have to put it on the town website. And also not just one presentation like the week before the election. We need to do it ahead of time too, so people can, can think about it, can look at it and know what's going on.
Could we have a public meeting where we present something, so people could come and ask questions on it? Like, I mean, besides us,
Yeah,
like an informational
We could-
meeting.
We could also some information.
yeah. We can do that. We'll discuss that at that closer, selectmen's meeting, so that way we can tell everybody what the date is once, everything is put together and everything, so people can come in. But of course, if we discuss it at meetings too, that helps also.
Mhm.
And there's also a possibility if we have that discussion amongst us, that if somebody is in the audience that has something to say, I'm not, against, asking them and not just waiting for community speaks. Of course, they can bring it up then, but I am in favor of going for November. So I guess what we have here is just, so except for one member, and tell me if I'm wrong, speak up, we're in favor of going for a vote on a ballot again. Do you want to take a motion on that and then have something to say whether it be November or in the spring?
So if you want to take a formal vote, that's fine. I just need a consensus whether you want, I'm hearing I guess the majority wants to do it now, whether it's April or November or April. Ballot question. That would be I guess the decision that would need to be made.
I'm fine with April, gives a little bit of time to inform people.
Yeah, and
Like I said, I wouldn't be in favor of any of this if the binding, non-binding was correct.
No, I understand that, and that's fine, and I'm all in favor of an election, but I also think that in November, more people will come out than in April. Because April will only be a town election, and that's not usually, our numbers aren't as usually high for a local election it is for a national election, so I think maybe more people will come out to vote in November than will in April, or spring.
Or the binding question would get them more people out.
It's true.
Mhm.
Well, I agree to disagree with that because people voted, came out to vote, and the non-binding binding came up afterwards, the question about it, so I'm not thinking that we would, but. So. Okay, so let's decide what we're gonna do here. Somebody make a motion.
So I'll make a motion to put the ballot question back out for next April. So it gives people time to be more informed.
Do I get a second on that?
Second,
Was that in April?
Yes.
April,
Yeah, April.
sorry.
Okay, let's take a roll call, so there's no question about this,
Mike
okay?
Bailey, aye.
Capozzi, nay.
Justin Sullivan, aye.
Michelle Hines,
It's all right.
Michelle Hines, nay. So there's 3 ayes and 2 nays. So that pushes it out to April. What was the second part of that?
No, it was-
That was-
That was fine. And then,
You did
then
that.
when we approached that, because my change in going from November to April, so I'm thinking this through a little bit, is that as you're going through the budget conversations, and it gets tight, this is very much, watching the schools,
I know.
and I think that's when you're gonna get the school side paying more closer attention to it, because to Mr. Healy's point earlier, the payments are, the first payment is pretty minimal for the short-term borrowing. It allows a little bit more time, and from experience, putting together these kinds of informational pieces and presentations for people, particularly coming off summer, it tends to be a lot more difficult than people would think, so, especially for those that are putting it together.
Okay, moving on, consider the appropriation of additional chapter 70 monies for the school department budget. Mr. Kadim?
Thank you. So the House Ways and Means released their budget proposal, which increased chapter 70, so the minimum school spending went from $30 to $60 per student. So that gave an increase, but with that, I often joke that the state gives and they also take. So they also had some additional assessments for the charter schools that obviously get deducted from that. They also lowered the unrestricted general government aid, which is our aid. We weren't getting a whole lot of anyways, but so when we net the increases and the deductions that came through, we had an additional $135,000 of positive revenue, state aid coming in. So my recommendation to the board, which would require a vote, would be to increase the school department budget by $135,000. So the original budget appropriation that we were providing to the Seekonk schools was $32,790,853. That was a 3.15% increase, or $1 million increase from 24 to 25. With this amendment, it would bring it to $32,925,853. That would be a 3.5% increase and $1,135,000 increase year over year for 24.
Can I get a motion?
Before I make a motion, I have a
Yeah.
question.
Well, go.
Mr. Dean, have you had conversations with the superintendent with regards to what you're suggesting on moving this over?
We had talked, we talked on the phone the day the House Ways and Means came out in terms of the chapter 70.
And based on the current school budget plan, was, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't a lot of money, but it could have a little bit of an impact to what they were anticipating having to do. Was there any indication, or was it plague, or was there indication to maintain status quo?
No, so
Let's go to the bottom line, just to.
yes, I think it's status quo, but I think it helps with conversations that we had. I believe it was an elementary teacher that was being laid off, so that would help save that position. Is what I understood, but I don't want to speak for the superintendent or the school committee, because obviously they ultimately have the decision in terms of the budget. We just provide appropriation. That's the conversation we had.
So what was the total number again? If you don't mind repeating.
Which one?
The total, yeah, the increase.
The increase was $135,000. So that would be $1,135,000 if we with $135,000.
What else can that money be used for?
Oh, it can be used, it's essentially revenue, so, we can use it for anything.
No consideration to split it between the town and the schools?
There could be. I personally didn't give it any consideration because I know they would have significant cuts on their side that they were struggling with, so.
And no other department around here is having significant cuts.
No, there are no cuts on our side. We've had some reductions, but we've phased back on our planning moving forward in terms of hiring staff. DPW, we didn't hire staff. We didn't hire staff for the fire department. Police department did get one individual. The treasurer's office did ask for new clerical staff, which was not included. So those are right off the top of my head.
So this 135 could benefit.
Could benefit other departments, yes, yeah.
Mr. Sawyer, do you have anything?
No, I'm just thinking.
Do you want to think out loud?
Thinking it could be a benefit to both. That's potentially 2 teachers, maybe 3 teachers, but on our side, if we have shortfalls,
And I do recall that when you reviewed the budget, you took about $25,000 out from like different maintenance stuff. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
there's a lot.
one in favor of making sure we have money for maintenance, and I would prefer not
So
to do that.
if the
So,
board wants, if you're not ready to make a decision tonight, we have a meeting on the 8th, so we can make the adjustment there. But the only thing would be, it wouldn't be on the warrant after, we would just have to make that amendment on town floor. So don't feel like we need to make that decision right at this point.
Well, you make a decision?
Yeah, I think in the end here, at $135,000 is, even if you broke that up 2 ways, and then you have half and half, it's gonna make a little dent in what we have over there, but that's a potential position on the school department. So,
Well, honestly, my opinion is I'm not adverse to splitting it because everybody has cuts and we have to think of the whole town. And so I think if this is gonna be, this is money that we didn't know that we were gonna get, that we're now getting. I think 50-50 split is not a bad idea. We'll put it back in the operating budget of the town, and the school department can, well, they can do it with theirs. So I'm not adverse to split it in half. Sharing it.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. I mean, we went through the budget process in the quad board meeting. I think we said at 2.5% of an increase. They're at 3.1, right? They get this money, they could be at 3.5. So 1% above what we agreed to at the quad board meeting. So it's one of those things that we could just continue to shovel money over that. And I'm not against the schools, trust me, but everybody has to have cuts. We voted as a board to move forward with hirings on the town side that we can't do this year because that's our hit. And I understand it. But I do think that if it's a maintenance line or something, if you can pull back whatever number you feel comfortable with, find out what that part-time teacher is gonna cost, if it's gonna be laid off or whatever. Split the difference. If they're able to keep that person with a certain amount of money and the rest comes to us, that's fine. I just don't think we should handle it overtime.
that's a good point. Maybe we need to see what the cuts were on the municipal side, town side, see like how to split it, because maybe 50-50 is not the way to split it. You know, maybe it's a 60-40 or 70-30, I don't know.
So you want to get more information on May
I would like to, yes.
8th? That sound cool?
Yeah.
sounds good to
Sound
me.
good?
Yep.
Mr. Kadeem, you have that down? Okay, so we will continue this on May. Okay, consider awarding the solid waste bid to Mega Transportation Group. That, ladies and gentlemen, is solid waste and recyclables, otherwise known as trash.
We should let it see all the people come here.
You all get it. Sorry.
Boy, John, yeah.
Dave, you want them done? Yeah, I apologize. I was just making my notes. So I'll be presenting. I'll have Dave here because if I present, we'll just a little bit quicker than if I let Dave present. So, but Dave will be here. Dave will be here to answer any questions. So as the board is aware, and as I think a lot of our residents are aware, our 10-year contract has expired. And typically 10-year contracts for trash are probably either cost neutral or not as beneficial to a community as one would necessarily think. And I can't say that, take credit for the planning of this, while I would like to. I don't have a crystal ball and I can't forecast the future. That 10-year contract that we had for the trash significantly saved the town a lot of money. We did have concerns with ABC originally, where they were coming back in, especially with China Sword kicking in with the cost of managing and disposing of recyclables, that they wanted to come in and actually modify our contracts. There were a handful of communities that actually met with ABC in New Bedford with attorneys to discuss what the contract terms were, and ultimately the communities pushed back and ABC, to their credit, honored the contract. So there, again, was significant savings. So our contract expires this June, the end of June 30th. So we went out to bid. So I do want to acknowledge Dave Cabral, Christine, our recycling coordinator. She did a phenomenal job in Omen's amount of work in terms of doing research, reviewing contracts from other communities, RFPs. We also had the help of Missy Holenbeck, who is the Mass DEP representative. She deals with recycling and solid waste contracts. So she was able to assist us with the development of the RFP and the actual contracts that was attached to the RFP. We had a number of conversations in terms of what we were looking for and what we wanted to include in the RFP moving forward. One thing I will say is that Missy is extremely excited about the process that Seekonk plays in, and she's been advocating our process and our trash plan that we have to other communities in hopes of getting other communities to follow suit and do what Seekonk does in terms of the pay-as-you-throw bags and the carts itself. Does the program, having a dual program like that, incentivizes more recycling and helps with the cost of the solid waste disposal. So just in terms of the RFP process, the RFP was released on February 26th. It was a month-long opening that allowed vendors to come in and pull the RFP, review what we had in there for the requirements. We had 10 firms who requested the town's RFP, and in that there was an opportunity to ask questions regarding the RFP and the services that were provided. We had 61 questions, which is pretty lengthy. It was detailed questions and responses were required. A lot of it were legal matters in terms of contracts. So we worked with myself, Dave Cabral, Christine, and then Missy, as well as legal, to get those responses back out before the deadline expired. Of those 10 firms that pulled, only 3 had submitted the bids. So we had one which actually was a no bid. So we only received 2 vendors that actually bid on the RFP. So
What is the no bid?
So typically what you'll have is if somebody pulls the RFP, they'll submit a bid in that basically says, thank you for the opportunity to bid, but we're not bidding. So that's essentially what it is. So they just want to be on record because they're on record as having received the RFP. So what we ended up doing was receiving 2 bids. So it was, I know everybody wants to say Mega, but it's Mega Disposal, which is our current trash company. They were purchased, Harvey Corporation purchased them from ABC. So they're our current vendor right now that's currently picking up the trash and recyclables. And then it was Easy Disposal. Easy Disposal is a Boston-based firm. They picked up the city of Fall River about 5 years ago. They recently have just been awarded Swansea, and they picked up Somerset about a year ago. So those were the 2 vendors that we were working with. So we had to evaluate the bids And in the evaluations of the bids, after we did that, we met with both firms. We met with them on 2 different occasions. The first meeting was about an hour long with each firm. We analyzed the cost impacts and had conversations. So even though we went through the RFP process, this is exempt from 30B. So we're able to continue to negotiate even though proposals were submitted with the various vendors. So that's why we did have those conversations with the vendors to still kind of sharpen the pencil in terms of what was submitted. So this is going to go through the comparison. And as I mentioned, we'll start to see why there was such a significant cost savings to the residents over the 10 years as this plays out. So MEGA, keep calling Mega myself, but MEGA had come in. So essentially what we looked for was a 5-year contract with 5 one-year options. So this will require, as the board is aware, anything over 3 years will require the authorization from town meeting to authorize the board to sign an agreement. So for the collection, and it's just important to note here because we'll go into recycling, but the collection costs include recycling and trash for both Easy and MEGA. So just to pick up, so the trucks that you see go down the streets and picking up the trash, that's the collection portion. The tipping fee is what we get charged to dispose of that cost, and that's where the bags come in. So the costs on the tipping fee is what you get charged for the bags, and that's how we come up with the dollar amount for that. So we had, sorry, just get my application here. So the tonnage that we had was 3,360. That's what we're averaging on an annual basis. So if you just take the tipping fee, multiply that by the tonnage, that's where you'll get your disposal cost. So year 1 for MEGA was $979,212 just to pick up the trash and recycling. Our tipping fee is $84, Dave. Currently, is that what we were? 85.
Yes. It's right around
It was either 84 or $85. You can see they're coming in at $105. And we'll talk a little bit about the tipping fee, but I will tell you that MEGA has a little bit of an advantage on easy disposal because they do have their transfer station in Rochester that they own, which was purchased through ABC. So they have a slight advantage on obviously easy disposal, but the tipping fee is still higher compared to easy disposal. So you'll see the tipping fee of $105 for year 1, $109.20 for year 2, $113.57 for year 3, $118.11 for year 4, and then $122.84 for year 5. And again, if you just multiply that by the annual tonnage, you'll get that dollar amount. In terms of the collection, you go from $979,000 to just over $1 million in year 2, $1,060,000 in year 3. You get 1.1 million in year 4, and then close to 1.2 million for collection in year 5. Moving over to easy disposal. So they're at 1.2 for year 1, 1.24 for year 2. They're just under 1.3 in year 3. We've got 1.3 in year 4, and then close to 1.35 in year 5. However, their tipping fee is significantly lower than what MEGA was presenting. They were actually, they had an agreement to dump in Taunton. I forgot the name of the facility.
The G Volks facility?
Wind waste, I think it was.
I think it was.
Wind waste. So that's the tipping fee.
Park for the railroads.
That's the tipping fee that they were able to get with wind waste. So $103 for year 1, $107 for year 2, $109 for year 3, $113 for year 4, and then $116 for year 5. And this is where we go into the recycling. So this is the true savings that we as a town have really saved. So MEGA goes in, as it currently stands, picks up our trash and recycling. We get charged nothing for the recycling. So there's significant costs to dispose recycling right now. We are not charged anything. So the collection columns are obviously blank because that was all included with the disposal and the waste. But now we have a new tipping fee for the recycling, $75. And again, this is really where
the competitive advantage comes in for Amiga because they own that transfer station for their recycling. They're giving us a tipping fee of $75. So what you see in the disposal costs are all new costs for disposal for recycling. Easy disposal at Wind Waste, they were at $125. And I know, and I'm going to note that the $75, even though it's in there from year 1 to year 5, it is going to fluctuate based on the market. But we also have language in there that we want some market shares in terms of the recyclables, because there's some value to some of the recycling that goes out there. Right now, the cardboard has got a significant value to it, so we want to be able to use that. So we never had any cost sharing. We'll now have some cost sharing in this contract, which will help to mitigate the tipping fees that we have for recycling. So you can see those costs there. And then we have the bulky items, and then what we call, I just put in there the muni, and that's going to be the municipal locations. We were never charged any of our pickups for any of our locations. We have dumpsters in some of our facilities, and we also got the toters here at Town Hall and other buildings. The bulky items, they're not going to charge us any additional cost for the bulky items. Easy disposal, you can see they were going to charge us. The annual cost was going to be about $105,000 for the first 2 years, $106,000 for year 3, $108,000 for year 4, and then $109,000 for year 5. And then for the municipal location pickups, MEGA is charging us $12,600 for those locations.
Does that include schools?
That does not include schools, no. We did ask in the RFP for a quotes for the schools so that we can provide that to the schools, because the schools are looking to go out to bid. This is specifically for town. And then Easy Disposal was doing $28,032 for all 5 years. So here's where you can get the real comparison. So our current contract, as it currently sits right now, the cost that we have, annual cost, is $1,028,760. PPH stands for price per households, so that equates to $184 per household. So now when you take the FY24 costs, compare it to what MEGA and Easy Disposal was putting forth. Year 1, just looking at year 1, $1,481,412. So roughly almost close to $500,000 increase. You can see the price per household is going from $184 to $264.54. In comparison, when you get down to Easy, when you take all the costs included for year 1, $1,920,518,000. That price per household is $342.95. And I just broke down the graph over on the side so you can see that bar chart. Current, price per household, $184. That only includes collection and disposal. So now you can start seeing we've got the collection, disposal, recycling costs, bulky waste costs, and the municipal costs, and have that now been added on to the contract. So year over year, MEGA with all the costs associated. Even at year 5, they'd be at $305 per household. That is even less than Easy's year 1 at $342.95. So the recommendation from myself and the group that actually evaluated this was to move forward with we did call in Easy. We did provide all the documents and the numbers to see if there was any way to make any additional movement on the numbers. They said that they have no ability to do that. Obviously, that MEGA has just a home field advantage in terms of having the facilities, the trucks already available, the manpower, and then also the transfer station at Rochester, that they would not be able to meet those numbers. So out of both vendors there, obviously, this is the best cost that we can provide to the town, would be MEGA disposal. Are there any questions? Dave? Did I miss anything, Dave?
Nope. I was briefly going to talk about services a little bit, but I don't need to necessarily, but.
So how do we pay for the tipping fee for the recycle?
So that's something we need to.
The blue bags is for the trash, but how do you?
Yeah, so we're probably gonna have to capture that in the annual trash fee. So you'll have your disposal costs and then the recycling costs.
Okay. So going back to the, municipal collections.
Disposal fees along between solid waste and recycling are up over $200,000.
Well, you remember they wanted to come back and raise it a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And we were able to hold them to their original contract, so
Right.
we knew there was gonna be a considerable
We knew this was coming.
increase. People need to try to do the recycling better and the, not the solid waste,
Common disposal.
no,
Composting.
Oh,
that's it, the composting. That the bags are supplied for and the disposal of that is over by the landfill. Because it's all in the weight, and there's a lot of weight in that, I tell you. Significant amount of weight, I've noticed, because I've been doing it for maybe a couple of months. And I'm surprised, my solid waste bag doesn't go out maybe every 3 weeks or something, and I get the smallest bag. Of course, granted, it's only me, but I'm saving money, so families can save money too. It's a little bit more effort on your part, but
Mr. Kadim, quick question on the recycling. Are those flat rates or that could be based on?
It's gonna be on the market, so we provided specifics, so Smart Recycling will have what the CDIs would be, so they've got to come in on a monthly basis and provide what the market is showing. So you're gonna have some fluctuation in terms of where we are with that. But part of it is hopefully if cardboard goes up in price and they're making a profit, then obviously there's more that's coming our way. So we'll be monitoring that, and there's a lot that's gonna be captured in the contract. So the contract's very detailed in terms of that. So the other thing we did talk about too, top of the recycling. So once you get outside, if we weren't dealing with MEGA, and you just look at the tipping cost for recycling, it's significantly higher than just throwing out your trash, right? So we're at $105 versus $125 for recyclables. So kind of disincentivizes folks to recycle when you're paying a lot more to dispose of it, right? So at least with MEGA, we're at the $75 tip rate for recyclables. So that kind of makes a little bit more sense for us in terms of making sure that we're having that enforcement and recycling going on, but also to maintain the cost sharing and profit sharing for the recyclables that are available. But the other conversations that we're having, we're trying to minimize the bulky fees that were coming in. The mattresses was a big discussion as well. So if you want to talk about the mattresses themselves.
Yeah, and actually the bulky is a good point to bring up, Sean. The bulky items we're paying right now are strictly based on tonnage with MEGA, where with Easy, there's a flat rate. So we're gonna be roughly in the ballpark, I guess, bulky stickers right now, probably about $5.50 a sticker to put out curbside bureau, things of that nature. Where Easy would be charging you $45 per item. Appliance stickers, weight goods, we're currently gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of $13.25 based on tonnage versus $85 per appliance. So it's just an additional sticker shock for the residents when they go and buy these items that you're gonna see. And, that's really, that aspect of it all is quite important. The mattresses, right now, DPW is picking them up. We can continue to do that. We have a good program. We did get prices on the mattresses from each firm. It was cheaper if we decided not to have DPW do it, we have more quality control, if you will. We did get pricing from both vendors. MEGA would be cheaper than Easy Disposal. They would handle it from soup to nuts if we decide to go that route. The pickup, the collection, disposal, and the recycling costs all included. Be a little bit more than what we're paying, but our guys are going out once a month. It's not horrible, but we'll figure that out. It's kind of a separate thing. We've got prices on it, and we can kind of evaluate whether it's worthwhile to keep DPW going or just pay the extra fee and let that thing go in. So we have those numbers too. Not a big change, but again,
What's the cost of the mattress if they were to handle it?
If they're gonna hit, Vigo is $75 per mattress.
They're doing 65 in-house, right?
That's non-contaminated. Yeah, so that's important.
That would be the flat rate for them to pick up. You know, we would still provide them the list, we would still sell the sticker, the whole bit, and then it would be $35 for them to pick it up.
Yeah, it gets up to like 150.
115, I think it was, if it's contaminated. And there's a little bit more cost built in because we are paying for the sticker and we are providing them with the bag to put the mattress in to keep them out of the weather. We're very proactive, we try to keep things in place to prevent them from getting contaminated in the first place by leaving them out in the weather, so it'd be a little bit higher, but ballpark.
Sorry, I think we took a detour from your original question.
It's fine.
I hope we answered it.
No, you got it.
So the other thing I want to point out is that, so as I mentioned, it's a 5-year contract with 5 one-year renewals mutually agreed upon. We don't have any numbers for those years because they're going to be negotiated until we get true market value on that. If they came in, they would just propose a significant increase on that. So that's the way we did that, and that's now it's hard to get these. Before, the vendors always want to get a 10-year contract. They want to get you in, and that's how they lock in the tonnage, and that's how they get some price reductions in terms of the tipping fees, because they can commit to a facility with all this tonnage coming in. But given this last round with the China sword and the issues that they have with long-term contracts, they won't even entertain it. So they look at a 5-year, which gives them the stability that they need to be able to provide some revenue coming in for the disposal, and then also have that commitment for potential additional 5 years to be negotiated at market rate. So hopefully, if the trend goes down, then we see some savings, 4 to 6. Or we can decide that we just want to go back out and redo this process. Which isn't fun.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I know everybody seems like it was exciting to be able to do this. It was a long 2 months, I'll tell you.
I do have a question about the solid waste, though. It has been brought to my attention that some residents would like to have a bag, the blue bag, that actually fits in the bin, the large bin, because I guess people throw away their trash differently. They're using the kitchen bags, 12 kitchen bags inside their home, and then they have the blue bags in the trash receptacle outside, and they're just filling up the blue bags in the receptacle. So they were thinking that if they had the choice, that they would buy the large bag that would fit in the large receptacle and then fill that up, and then when that was full, put it out. They seem to be, their thinking is they will spend less to buy one big bag and fill it up than keep filling up our large size, which does not fit in their set.
So, I mean, we can look at that. I will tell you this much, the bags that they're buying are based upon weight. And the way you control that is the smaller bag is only gonna hold so much and gonna only weigh so much that you're gonna have to lift and put into that can. You can fit 5 or 6 of those small bags in your receptacle right now. So it would certainly cost a lot.
Wait for who? Because
So
they use the truck that has the thing.
What the
and
weight-
rolls it over.
it's the individual, the cost of the bag takes into account the weight of the trash. So that's important.
Okay, but if you got a larger bag, it would cost more, so there'd be more weight.
It would, and we have to calculate that out, but it would be a challenge, I think, because if you're putting out one small bag, your cost per bag of 65 cents, that's your cost. If you put 5 of those out, or if you're buying a larger bag, that's kind of how you keep that cost under control. Like, that's how pay as you throw works, right? If you just buy one big bag, like you're saying, you put it in a receptacle, that bag may cost you $20.
Right.
Throwing out a number.
Mhm.
So you're paying $20 for a bag that you're gonna fill up. We don't know how much stuff you're gonna put in, it, so it could be more. And,
The weight could be more than what? The weight's gonna be whatever it is.
well, we have to figure out the tonnage in the course of the year to make sure the bag is paying for that disposal cost. So that's how that's tied in. That's how pay as you throw works. The tonnage is built into the cost of the bag, so that,
Right.
the reason these bags cost so much money is based on the tonnage of your trash. I think it would be a challenge personally, but we can have further discussion about that. other communities aren't doing it, I believe that's,
I don't care what other communities are doing. I'm bringing it to your attention because residents of Seekonk have come to me and said, why aren't we able to buy just one big blue bag to put in a receptacle? Then once that's filled, tie it up and Miga comes and picks it up.
Also, the argument of having no bag, just fill up the whole bin, but now you have so much weight in there. When you buy the bags, it's only rated for so much weight.
Yeah, but you buy one big bag, it weighs 75 pounds. You shove 3 of the large bags in it and they both all weigh 40 pounds. That's, or 120 pounds. I mean, the weight is gonna be whatever you don't recycle or compost.
and we can have a discussion on it. I would just say for the quick debate, it would be a lot more difficult, in my opinion, to try to regulate across the savings. In other words, pay patrol promotes you to put out less trash, right? So if I can get away with putting out one small bag a week, guess what? I'm buying one small bag, putting all my trash in one small bag for my 65 cents. If I have to buy 2 large bags, it's still gonna be a better deal for me than buying that one large bag at that cost. So maybe the family that's got 3 or 4 kids that's putting out 8 or 10 bags a week will benefit. I just think we can have further discussion on it. I don't know if the bags even exist right now, it's a whole conference thing, but I just think the way the pay for program works, it is to try to allow that person that's bringing out one small bag a week that may be living alone, as opposed to the family 4 or 5 children out there that bring out a lot more trash. That's my thought.
Okay, so moving on. Oh, no, moving on. Give me a motion, someone.
All right, I got a question.
Yep.
Okay, that doesn't include the landfill cap fee. So we're looking at first year 264, so then you throw in the cap fee. So is it, Sean, possible that
Where do you think you're going?
if we agree to this, because it costs the residents another 100 and change, for some residents, could they do like a payment plan? Or just paying the whole thing up front? Because you're looking at almost $400 bill. Some people,
You be doing it quarterly?
right, like some people don't want to pay it one shot, okay, but some people, maybe fixed incomes or something,
Yeah.
to break it down.
Well, let me have some internal conversations about how that works. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to if there's an ability to do it quarterly to.
And I just think some residents when they're getting,
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yes, sir. That's what I was waiting for.
A motion? You
Yeah.
wanna make it?
Make it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all right.
Go.
Let's go.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to award the solid waste bid to Mega Transportation Group.
Second.
Mega.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Healy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Zora?
aye.
Okay. Unanimous. Congratulations. Let's see, moving on to consider awarding the Dearest Fund Master Plan bid to, is that Klug Harbor and Associates LLP CHA?
Now that you said the name, I'll just refer to the CHA.
Yeah, okay, good.
So the Madeiras Farm Committee put out an RFP for architectural design services for essentially the master plan for Madeiras Farm. So we issued the RFP on January 22nd. The deadline was February 16th. We received 8 bidders. One of those bidders withdrew because one of the members on the board works for that company. So one of the members left. They submitted a bid for the project. He then returned back to the firm, so they pulled. So long story short, we never opened it up or reviewed them. So we had 7 bidders that were evaluated by the committee. The committee ended up interviewing 5 of those 7 bidders. So we had the finalists were selected on March 5th, and then oral presentations were presented to the committee on March 19th. As a result of that, the evaluation criteria that was highlighted in the RFP and as a result of the oral presentations that were submitted, CHA was the highest bidder. So if folks are not familiar with an RFP, the RFP allows essentially for your qualifications to come in. You can review the qualifications, and there's a separate submittal for price. You do not see the price until you evaluate the firms based on their qualifications. Once that's done, then you open up the price proposal. So CHA was the highest rated firm. And they happened to be, after we rated them, were the second lowest in terms of the fee that they had submitted. We had $150,000, and they came in at $143,200 for the project. So the request,
143?
yeah, 143,200, and we may be able to get that down a little bit. So we're looking to award the bid, and then so we can begin the contract negotiations with CHA. So the recommendation from myself and from the committee is to award the bid to CHA.
Anybody have anything? Everybody good?
I'm good.
How about a motion?
I'll make a motion to award the bid for Madeira's Farm Master Plan to CHA, otherwise known as Clue Harbor and Associates.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Third quarter budget presentation for fiscal year 2024.
This should be quick. Fiscal year 24 year-to-date balance with no significant issues. Our salaries remain below budget forecast, and our expenses for quarter 3 track below target. Revenues are aligning with our budget projections. They're actually coming in higher than what we had forecasted. Assessors update. So personal property, the forms of lists, or the FOLs, were sent out in January 2nd, to all active, inactive, and $5,000 values, or under $5,000 values as well. That's per Massachusetts general law. So the form of lists are used to determine the taxable or exempt status of personal property. That's a requirement on every fiscal year. And then I&E, which is income and expense forms, are sent out to our commercial and industrial accounts. So this I&E will also include multifamilies. So they got to provide income statements for the rental properties as well. So that falls under Schedule A, apartment rentals. Schedule AF is affordable housing rental incomes. Schedule B is going to be your commercial and industrial income. And then Schedule C is going to be your mixed use income properties. So those were all sent out January 2nd. Tax abatements, the assessor's office had 32 residential property abatements, 18 commercial and industrial abatements, 3 personal property abatements, and 1 small business exemption. For the treasurer's office, health insurance, they continue to work with the retirees and transition them into the new Medicare Advantage plan. They're working with Gallagher regarding the health insurance billing recon. And we've finally started to receive some sizable credits. There were some issues there. Gallagher is our vendor who processes all our billings from Blue Cross Blue Shields. All dental, vision, life, and health insurance withholdings and payments have been reconciled through April. So we've got that wrapped up. So the expense reports are as accurate as they can be for quarter 3. Payrolls, the tax tables for the new calendar year have been updated. We've processed all year-end accruals. They've met and processed 11 new full-time hires, 3 part-time hires, 3 full-time terminations, and then 1 part-time terminations. They processed the W-2s for both the town, which was just under 300, and the schools just under 500, and they were issued in January. They processed the 1095C forms for both the towns and the schools. Towns having 174, and the schools 374. And then the retirees who are on active plans were 44. Those were issued as per the requirement, federal requirement from February for the reporting in March. Collector's office, motor vehicle excise bills, 16,678. Those were issued for the first commitment on 2024. That went out for the February. That's our largest commitment. Demands and warrants were issued on the prior commitment. And then for the FY '24 actual real estate and personal property bills, third quarter was due on February 1st, and the fourth quarter will be due on May 1st. Tax title, we have some updates here. 47 parcels currently in tax title. That's actually 4 parcels down from the second quarter. We still have 4 active payment plans. We have 4 parcels that have been acquired through tax title. And then we still have 20 cases moving through land court. For our revenue, so real estate, we have our commitment of 48.3. We've received year to date 36.6. That's a 75.5% collection rate. That's on target. Personal property, we have a commitment of 3.7 million. We've collected 2.9 of that. That's a 78.5% on target. Motor vehicle excise, 2.9 million. We've collected 2.4 million. That's 85.3%. And that's above target based on our forecasting. So our revenues are 724,000 above the Q3 budget forecasts. Meals tax, the commitment was 631,000. Year to date, we've collected 514,000. That's an 81.5% collection rate. That's above target. Our hotel tax, $762,000 commitment. We've received $785,070. That's a 103% collection rate. So it's obviously above our target. And then per the request of the board, we've added the marijuana retail tax, the local option. So we, as I mentioned, for FY '24, we have not committed this money. So we've got no commitment. So year to date, we've collected $481,028. Oh boy, let me see what else is this one. So overall, no major issues. So the red that's highlighted is just over the 75.5%, just as a for you to be able to capture the eye. Education, 84.8%. And that's just because we paid Bristol Aggie 100% in the first quarter, so that's just throwing the numbers off slightly. We continue to be on target with Tri-County. For our debt and interest, 80.7%. That's really on target. That's just how we pay our debt and interest payments. And then our other fixed costs coming in at 81.8%. And that's just driven by the fact that we pay our pension the first of the year to avoid additional interest payments. So that really throws that number off. And in here is also healthcare. Healthcare, as I mentioned before, has been reconciled through April. That's running slightly higher than what we had budgeted, but overall, the other fixed costs line item should kind of offset that increase in the healthcare that's coming in. For salaries, we are projecting $1.2 million below the target in Q3. That's just vacancies and just retirements, filling positions, resignations. So we're below target there. Our expenses, we are below our target by 1.3 million, and that's a good situation to be in. Obviously, as I mentioned before, healthcare is coming in a little bit higher, so I anticipate fourth quarter to have that surplus shrink down a little bit more. That's all I have. Question?
Good. Thank you.
Mr. Zora?
It's working good.
Posey? Thanks. Mr. Healy?
Good.
Okay, moving on. Consider accepting the donation of the amount of $500 from the Friends of the Seekonk Veterans Memorial Park to be used by the Veterans Agent and the Veterans Council to defray the cost of maintenance of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial located on Fall River Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? passes unanimous, and you wanted to say what?
I do.
Before?
I guess I'm just because I'm a little frustrated with this current situation. So the Vietnam Memorial sits on the Seekonk Housing Authority property. That memorial has been neglected for quite some time. We've gotten complaints. We've called the housing authority to see if they would allow DPW to go on there and maintain the memorial. We've been told no, that they would maintain the property, and they're going to have their staff do it. So to go back and forth, and then now we're hearing that they don't have the staff to be able to maintain it, which to me doesn't make any sense since it's all grass. They've got to maintain the grass that's in front of the property anyways. I don't know if there's any willingness from the board to see if potentially relocating that memorial. I just hate to see the fact that we're going to be trying to send DPW out there to maintain that memorial, not being allowed on the property or anything like that. To me, it's a disservice to the fact that that memorial is not being maintained. And
Absolutely.
I can't imagine how much that cost would really be. I mean, we're talking about cutting grass. I know there was some additional requests coming in terms of the lights out there. There's some solar lights that need to be changed out. I mean, there's just really short money that can be spent on the memorial to maintain it. And we're just not getting any help from the housing authority, which is being managed by the Attleboro Housing Authority. So,
Well, this says, for the veterans agent and the veterans council. So
Right.
to defray the cost, so I wonder if they have, well,
so
you say DPW and this says for them to defray the cost.
So they've got that donation for them to go handle it. Prior to that, we were trying to get that cleaned up. We've offered to send DPW just to allow DPW to maintain the actual memorial.
Right.
We were told no. So
So
that's,
maybe does Jim, the veterans agent, Jim LaFlemme, have, permission to maintain them?
I don't know. I would have to have those conversations with them, but from my standpoint, for the town of Seekonk to go on to the housing authority's property, maintaining their property, just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. So I can ask again if we can have the authorizations. But if not, I would suggest that the board consider trying to relocate the memorial to a place that makes sense and that we can actually maintain it.
I would actually like to have someone from the housing authority here in front of this board to explain to us why they're reluctant to take care of a Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
I wonder if
I want them
there
to
was
explain
some
that to me.
If there was some kind of an agreement originally to put it there, that they would maintain it.
Well, it used to fall under the Seekonk Housing Authority, correct?
Yeah.
Attleboro took it over
And then Attleboro took it over.
to consolidate monies back in the day
Yeah.
when they were making cuts.
Let's put it on a future agenda for discussion.
Yeah, to get more information, and also to talk about, to talk to the veterans agent, maybe he knows,
Well,
maybe he has permission to
Well,
go.
the Veterans Council,
Yeah, right.
and then I'm sure there's a reason why it's located there. So,
They had nothing before. It's always donated to them, but we'll talk about it another time.
Okay. But we did make a motion and pass it to accept it, but we would like to get some more information on that. So maybe we can assist in keeping it up somehow or other. Consider authorizing the town administrator to sign in authorization form to accept a donation in the amount of $1,000 from Seekonk Animal Shelter from the estate of Elizabeth Shepherd.
So moved. Second.
Does anybody want to say anything?
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
I'll be silent. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, consider the resignation of Nicole Ferrara from the position of Assistant Animal Control Officer effective April 27th, 2024.
So moved.
Second,
Madam Chair, can we have a discussion on that, please?
Discuss, Mr. Healy.
Well, I just asked this before when I was on the board. For a very small department, we seem to go through an awful lot of assistant animal control officers in that department. The last time I brought it up, you know, I was told there was different reasons why people left and stuff like that, but is there internally a problem why we continue to go through so many people in that department? I mean, is there reasons they're expressing to us? And I know we can't get into the whole exit interview thing, but There's gotta be some type of a pattern why we continue to go through so many people in that department.
Yeah, so I think each individual was unique. We do have the exit interviews. I've not seen the exit interview yet from, where we haven't conducted the exit interview for Nicole. So we have had conversations with the department head in terms of some of the global discussions that we can have with the exit interviews, based on whether or not the employee wants to share the information that's been provided. I can tell you that there was concerns with some of the comments that came back, but other reasons for leaving have been somewhat valid. I think part of the reasoning is the schedule, the callback hours, in particular for this individual who's looking to resign. She does not like the weekend schedule, Friday and Saturday schedule, and then she also lives in West Warwick, so the bridge had also created some issues for her. So.
Okay.
But to your point, then any time we have resignations, we always monitor the evaluate the exit interviews that we do. Sorry.
Anyone else? All of those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Consider accepting the open session meeting minutes of March 27th, 2024. This is the last meeting that I was the clerk for, and I would make a motion to accept the minutes as presented with one correction under J, where it has myself as seconding. What's that word? Anyway, the motion to approve the fiscal year 25 departmental fees when it was Mrs. Posey who had done it. On the third page, it should say Pam Posey, not me. Otherwise, wonderful job. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
I abstain.
Unanimous, not name. 4 ayes and 1 abstain. Thank you very much. Okay, other business. Discuss other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours before the meeting. I have none. Town administrators report and comments.
No updates.
No comments? Nothing to bring up?
No.
As I said before, remember that there are going to be some changes on the agenda, and that was one of them. And maybe it was a waste of time, seeing as he has no comments.
Sorry.
Okay, Board of Selectmen liaison reports and comments. Let's go with liaison reports first. Accounts payable warrant's been signed. 540 Arcade Avenue Building Committee report. Our state inspection for the elevator is going to be May 15th. And that day, Mr. Cabral and our general contractor and everybody are trying to get together to make May 15th the final inspection for everything. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully that'll be the day we get our occupancy permit. TV9 liaison,
Nothing in the report?
thank you. Bristol County Advisory Board,
Nothing new.
okay, thank you. Madeira's Farm Committee report,
Nothing new?
except for what we just signed. Okay, Seekonk Public Library feasibility study building assessment.
They're still waiting on getting the work scheduled to be done. As of right now, they still do not have a date.
Is that for the
The
borings?
boring around the foundation, yep.
Okay, so let's skip to comments. Mr. Sullivan,
Nothing for me.
Mr. Zork,
Nothing.
Mrs. Posey,
Nothing.
Michael Healy,
Nothing?
oh, Mr. Healy. Oh, you're gonna leave it all up to me, thanks. I do have a couple of things. I'm not stopping, this is important, stuff. As soon as I get rid of the 2 pages, I'll let you know what it is. Okay, as I said at the beginning, I want people to know that we're coming upon June and July, and we have some holiday conflicts with our schedule for the Board of Selectmen's meeting. I'm gonna meet with the town administrator's office next week to get this solidified for the next meeting. Juneteenth is on a Wednesday, the 4th of July is on a Thursday. So things are gonna be messed up as far as not going every 2 weeks. We're thinking of going the 3rd week and then trying to catch up the next week. We're gonna sit down and look at the calendars, this coming week to see if we can kind of solidify it so everybody can make their vacation plans. And try to keep on the same schedule after it. And then, as I said earlier, Christmas is gonna be a conflict and probably Thanksgiving too, but let's try to get through. As I said to Mrs. Tester that I think we should go through the summer when her and I sit down, go right through August to plan, so we can plan ahead. We may have to, as I had said to Mr. Kadim, I don't know, whenever we talked, that we might have to have like a meeting like this, and then next week have another meeting if priority matters come up that have to be settled, because the next week we're not gonna have a meeting. But, hopefully if we sit down and plan the meetings, we'll be able to get them all on, have everything on track. So just keep that in mind for, everybody's schedule, because everybody likes to go on vacation or go wherever. Just know that that's coming up because of the holidays. So we'll be looking at that. This Friday is, the high school, the Empty Bowls benefit concert. It's actually on the marquee or whatever, the signage out front. April 26th, 6:30, 8:30. There's gonna be music and entertainment. You buy a bowl and you get some food, and it's in the cafeteria. Oh, you get desserts will be served in your empty bowl. Bowls were made by the students and the teachers. So I guess I've never been to one. I guess you go in, you buy a bowl, and then you can get some desserts, and then the high school band will be playing, and it's to benefit doorways. So that's a good idea. So you might wanna do that. And that's all I have. So everybody's good? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn and enter into executive session to reconvene an open session for potential contract approval. To conduct strategy sessions with respect to negotiations with the fire chief per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A2, as having the discussion in open session would be detrimental to the litigation or bargaining position of the town, and to conduct strategy sessions with respect to negotiations with their deputy chief, fire chief, per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A2, as having the discussion in open session would be detrimental to the litigation or bargaining position of the town.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and second. Roll call, please.
Michael Hilly, aye.
Pam Posey, aye.
Justin Sullivan, aye.
Chris Zora,
Michelle Hines, aye. Unanimous. And thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Good night, John.